All right, it's the Rolling Stones with Jumpin' Jack Flash here on FM 88.3 WHCM, Harper College. I think the first time I heard that song was when they did a movie with Whoopi Goldberg, which was a horrible movie. But the movie was called Jumpin' Jack Flash. I'm here. My name is Brian Shelton, and I'm here with Dr. Jennifer Berne, the Dean of Liberal Arts here at Harper College, and she's agreed to come in and spend a half hour with us today and have her mind probed. How are you doing this morning, Dr. Berne?
I'm fine. How are you?
I would be a lot better if the sun was shining and it wasn't raining.
Yeah, so somebody was walking out of the building 2 days ago with sunglasses on, and I said, where did those come from?
Right.
And he said, yeah, I dug them out. It's been 3 weeks since I put them on, but yeah.
Yeah. The weather has not been cooperative. Speaking of the weather, it's supposed to get up to a high of 54 today. Right now it is 44 with a feels like of 42. We've got rain all day today. Wednesday we're looking at rain and a high of 58. But it is supposed to be nice this weekend. So
good.
Yeah. So you're a runner.
I am a runner.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had Dr. Ender on the show, I don't know, about 2 months ago, and he is a runner. And I asked him this question: what are you running from?
Running from, running to.
Running from, running to.
Yeah. No, I am a runner, and this winter was fantastic because it was a warm winter. But then the winter, it's not ever gotten warmer.
Right.
So the running in May and the running in February were actually almost exactly the same.
Yeah, just about the same.
Yeah.
I'm a cyclist, and I was looking at my my output on my Garmin data there, and I'm like, oh, I've been riding every day, but the temperature hasn't gotten any better. What is going on here?
Yeah. So what did Dr. Ender say his running issues are?
He says that if you train and you're in shape, that the running doesn't hurt.
That is accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I asked him if the cigar smoking affected his running, and he said that life is all about balance.
So my younger sister, who I ran one marathon with her years and years ago, and she lives in San Francisco, and she was smoking at the time, and she trained as a smoker, and we were at the starting line, and she was smoking a cigarette, and one of the other runners said, "Can you believe these spectators are smoking in front of us?" And my sister turned to her and said, "I am a runner," and she finished it, and maybe a year later quit smoking. Now she's a much better runner.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
It certainly does help. All right, so Dr. Berne, you come to us from many different places. I was just talking to you right before we got started. You grew up outside of Detroit.
I did.
And then started your full-time faculty career at Oakland Community College. What was that like?
It was a lot like Harper.
It was a lot like Harper?
It was a lot like Harper, but it was multi-campus, so there was 5 different campuses around Oakland County, and so you spent a lot of time in your car. And you also, we had these campuses that it was like warring factions because the resources were, there were favorite campuses, and then there were not favorite campuses, depending on who the administrators were at the time. But it was great. I loved it. I started when I was 22 and 11/12.
So about 5 years ago.
Right. So I was very, very young. And I was there for 9 years.
That's a long time.
Yes, it was. It was.
And you taught English?
I taught English. And about 5 years in, my boss at the time came up to me and said, "Are you going to spend the rest of your life grading papers?" And I said, seems like that. And he said, "Why don't you go back to school just in case you decide you don't want to anymore?" And so I went back to school and got a different degree, and subsequently graded less papers.
Yeah. What now? So did you make that transition from full-time faculty to administration at that time? But you were still teaching when you were at Northern Illinois University for a while. You were still teaching there, right?
No, I was teaching when I was at National Louis.
Okay.
And I taught half-time and was an administrator half-time.
Okay.
Then when I went to Northern, I was an administrator full-time, and
Okay.
I've unfortunately moved out of the campus ever so slightly more every job.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that every administrator that I talk to, and we've had a few on this show in particular, that has made that transition from being full-time faculty to being an administrator, the one thing they really miss is being with the students in the classroom. Is that true for you? Or?
I do, though I have been fortunate at Harper because I've been able to teach. So I teach a section of English 101 once or twice a year, and I enjoy it very much. I teach the night students. Last summer I taught a class of reverse transfers, so I got to understand a reverse transfer being students who are here from a 4-year school taking some of their gen ed credits in the summer. So I actually miss it less than I once did because I'm doing it a little bit. And the thing about teaching is you completely miss it if you don't do any, but you only have to do a little not to miss it. So, yeah, I mean, you just need a little fix. Yeah, you don't need to really teach 4 classes to satisfy yourself.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So speaking of satisfying yourself with the career, now I have to tell you, I've had some administrative responsibilities over the years in different capacities, and I have to tell you that I find the bureaucracy soul crushing. How do you deal with that?
That is true. I mean, what I do is I try to interact with as many people a day as I can, and I try to work with as many faculty a day as I can, because what I'm mostly interested in is what faculty do, and so helping faculty problem solve, or creating more problems for them, or helping students problem solve. That's how I balance it. And if there's a day when I don't see a lot of faculty or a lot of students, it's not as good a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you go home feeling kind of like you didn't really do anything that day? Or?
I mean, I have to release all the tension from my shoulders, and it takes me the whole drive home. If I'm with students and faculty, working on things that are interesting, it takes less time.
Yeah. I find that if I have a day or 2 days in a row where I'm not really doing a whole lot of teaching, maybe we're doing tests or we're looking at a film or something like that, I kind of feel when I go home like I haven't really accomplished anything that day. I mean, I know it's all still part of the educational experience, but I don't feel like I actually had that communication back and forth with the student in the same way that I do when I'm standing in front of a classroom and we're having an interactive discussion and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. And one of the funnest part of my jobs, which is also hard, but one of the funnest things I get to do is I go and I sit in on every faculty's class every couple of years as a part of the evaluation process, which is supposed to be for them, but it's actually, I think, the thing that's made me a better teacher, because when you especially watch good teaching, which is outside your discipline, so when you watch good teachers I watched good teachers of foreign language and great teachers of music and art and humanities, you learn amazing things. So that's a perk of the job, and something that I would not want to give up.
Yeah. Okay. So what does a typical day look like for you? Is it lots of meetings? I go to lots of meetings. I also write a lot, and so maybe people don't understand that about administrator. I write a lot of communications, but I also write professionally and try to continue to publish in my academic field. So I try to write every day, even if it's just a little. I try to interact with students in some capacity. Most days, whether that's being in a classroom or whether that's having a student group come talk to me or whether that's going to a musical performance that students do. So that's part of the day. So part of the day is meetings, part of the day is students, part of the day is writing, part of the day is walking around, which is an important part of a leadership position. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Being seen.
Being seen.
Yeah. Having the opportunity to be seen.
And see.
Yeah.
Also, because you don't really know what's happening, unless you see.
Right. Let's talk about your professional writing. What are you working on?
So my second academic home is teacher education, and people. It's kind of a confusing field. That's people who teach teachers how to teach.
Right.
And so, So when people ask you what you do and you tell them that at a cocktail party, their eyes kind of spin. But I've been doing that for a very long time, and I write books to help teachers teach reading and writing in more contemporary ways, mostly for kindergarten through 12th grade teachers. I wrote one college book. That was my first. I wrote a college, and then a high school, and then a middle school, and then an elementary school.
Okay.
And that's about as low as I don't think I'm going to write anything for early childhood. But so I'm always writing one of those. I have a partner that I write with at another university. So I write a little, send it to her. She writes a little, sends it to me. And it keeps my head in my discipline, which is important to me.
Yeah. So you find the writing part rewarding. Yeah.
I like it. I mean, I would call it the kind of writing that you don't notice as writing. It's like transparent. So my writing is successful when you see only the ideas, you don't see the writing.
Okay.
And that's opposed to people who do creative writing or novels where you're reading it and you're like, wow, that's so beautiful, or wow, that's so amazing how they put that together. That's I don't write that way.
Okay.
So
I think a lot of people who outside of the academic world. You know, when you think about university professors, we think about them being allotted time to do research and write and that sort of thing, and they teach a couple of classes. But I think what people don't realize at the community college level, that our full-time gig as faculty is teaching. That's what we do. That's what we're hired to do. But we all do all this additional work, the research and writing and creative endeavor and that sort of thing on top of the day-to-day teaching that really isn't part of our job, but it's part of our passion for our discipline that we do.
That's right.
In our own personal professional development to keep ourselves relevant to our students in the field that we work in. So.
Yeah, and I think that the happiest faculty are the faculty who are here because they choose to be here, and they could go somewhere else if they want to, and maybe someday they will. Maybe they already have. But I think in order to be nimble in your career, you have to be both a teacher and a scholar, and whatever that means for whatever discipline you're in, whether you're in radio or artistry or research.
Yeah. So we talked about your what you're doing there and where you came from. I'm kind of curious. I read just recently that you've been selected by the Aspen Institute to be a fellow, to potentially be a college president. Tell us about
did
that.
you read that in Inside Harper?
I did, and then I Googled you.
You Googled me.
I Googled you, and it comes up online.
You know, there's a funny thing about Googling me because I have not a very common name, but so there's another Jennifer Berne.
Who's a children's book
author. Also an author who's the exact same age as I am, and she gets reviews from my books, and I get reviews from her books. She had an amazing book on Jacques Cousteau a few years ago, and I got a lot of really good kudos from it, so thank you. Anyway, I was just putting in a plug for Inside Harper.
Right.
So all the listeners, the way that we communicate at Harper that's one important way. Yeah, so I'm gonna I have the opportunity to study and learn with 39 other. There's 40 of us, future community college presidents. We're going to spend a week at Stanford this summer. Then we spend a week in Aspen, and then we spend a week outside Washington D.C. And in between, I believe we study and interact and get a mentor and learn how to develop a larger understanding of the institution. My understanding of the institution is bound by my work, which is academics, but there's all these different parts of the institution. There's the infrastructure, there's the community piece, there's the political piece, there's the money, there's all of those things, and I need to get better at those.
Okay.
No, regardless of what I do next.
Right.
Or whether I do nothing next.
I don't think you'll do nothing next. Is that a goal of yours?
To do nothing next?
No.
No.
That's my goal, to do nothing next.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking for a campfire and a tree. But no, is that a goal for you? Do you want to be a college president?
I want to continue to expand what I understand about community colleges and expand my skills in them. I'm not sure what the next step is. I'm fairly certain that's not my next job.
Right. There's a step in between there. Yeah.
At least one, maybe multiple.
Yeah.
But it's good to be marketable. Probably in 10 years, I'm going to move to the West Coast, and you want to make sure that there's plenty of job opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. When I saw that published, I was like, good for her. That's awesome. That's a really good thing.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Ender is very active in that organization, and he was very generous to encourage me to apply. Mark Rosinski, who's another dean at Harper, was in the first class. They're just finishing up their year, and so he had a really good experience with it. And I think many of my colleagues and many of the people in my division think that I'm leaving to go do it. I'm not leaving. I'm staying. I just leave a few times, and it's not immersive the way that some other fellowships might be. Yeah,
I feel really sorry for you having to spend a week in Aspen. That's got to be awful. I mean, you poor thing.
Colorado is my favorite state. Yeah, it is. I mean, yeah, it is. Though I don't know if you saw last night, the Cubs were there. They had a giant hailstorm.
Yeah.
But it was 70 degrees.
Yeah.
but they had what looked like snow kind of on the field. But I do love Colorado.
I did see that. Yeah, I do too. Some friends of mine who teach at a community college out there were I saw a couple of job postings out there. Not that I'm going anywhere, but I'm always looking. Yeah. I'm always looking at stuff just to see what's out there, you know, and I was like, wow, I can't believe the starting salary on some of these jobs out there must be all that pot money, right? They have legalized marijuana in Colorado.
It's high?
Very high. Literally very high.
Very high.
So,
and the cost of living is not as high as here. It's it's a good place, and you can be outside 12 months a year.
Yeah, which is a big plus.
It is.
So.
It's a good thing. You could do some good mountain biking there, yeah?
Yeah, you could do all kinds of great stuff out there, yeah. But now you're tempting me, see? Now,
yeah, well, no, we want to keep you here as happy as long as we can.
But you're talking about Dr. Ender encouraging you to apply. I think that's one really interesting thing that a lot of people outside of the institution of Harper College may not be aware of, is that Dr. Ender himself has a very big commitment to recruiting and training and developing leadership talent here at this institution. And that's a really important thing if we're going to continue to grow not only Harper College, but continue to grow the community college movement across the country, because community colleges increasingly play a very important role in the college experience for students. It's very hard for students today to, pack up and move off to a four-year university away from the responsibilities that they may have at home, especially if you're talking about an adult student who may already have a family and a career and that sort of thing. It's a pretty difficult thing to say, well, I'm going to leave and go to Eastern Illinois University for 4 years now. Have a nice day. It's a hard thing to do. So that leadership development is very important. So.
Yeah, I think so. And I do appreciate that. And I think Dr. Ender has a history of that. He wants people to succeed at Harper, and he wants them to succeed beyond Harper. And I do think he sees the longer view, which is we're all in this together. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing about community colleges is that they don't compete with one another, because like high schools, you're sort of bound by the one that you go to that is in your district. So it's really easy, I think, to be much more collaborative in the state and nationally than when I was at four-year institutions. When I was at Northern, we tried to be very competitive with ISU, and we did not think of ourselves as partners with ISU. We thought of ourselves as a different choice. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of nice to be in the community college world where it's not like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Brian Shelton. We are talking with Dr. Jennifer Berne, who is the Dean of Liberal Arts here at Harper College. We're going to take a quick 60-second or so break here, and when we come back, we want to have a chat with her about the exciting things that are going on in liberal arts and the things that she's excited for here in the future at Harper College. So we'll be back in 60 seconds.
Did you know that you could put WHCM in your pocket everywhere you go? College Radio has its own app called Radio FX, and Harper Radio is on it. The app allows you to access a high-quality stream and check show scheduling. You also have the ability to interact with our DJs with live poll questions, a call-in feature, and access to all of our social media information. The best part about Radio FX is that it's free, so download it on your smartphone and search WHCM. It has all the amenities you need while listening to College Radio.
Every day, hundreds of college radio stations take to the air. College radio changes the lives of those who are involved with it, and can change those who listen to it too.
College radio means finding yourself. It helped me find what I wanted to do in not only school but in life.
So support college radio by continuing to listen to this station and supporting the students who make it happen. College radio, now, more than ever. A message brought to you by this station and the College Radio Foundation. For more information, please visit collegeradio.org.
And we're back with Harper Talks. I'm Brian Shelton. My guest today is Dr. Jennifer Berne, the Dean of Liberal Arts here at Harper College. That was a great message about college radio, since we are a college radio station. But we love college radio, and we like to promote it as much as possible. Great experiences for our students. So before we left for our quick break there, to give you a chance to breathe, because yeah. So we said when we come back, we want to talk about the things you're excited about with the Division of Liberal Arts and what's going on over there. So what's happening? What's on the horizon?
So I'm going to turn this around and ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you know how many departments are in the Division of Liberal Arts?
It's a lot, because I know that just last year or so we absorbed a couple of departments. So I'm going to say 15.
No, that's too much.
That's too much.
Yeah. No. Well, unless you're counting, so if you counted every world language separately,
Mm-hmm.
we might be close to 15. But we actually take all the world languages, which it's interesting, and people should know that we teach not only Spanish, French, German, but Chinese, Japanese, and sign language.
Wow.
At Harper, and we have really are excited about the offerings in those.
Mm-hmm.
But we have 8 departments. World language, all of those together being one. And some of the departments have sort of sub parts. So the department that you're in has a speech component, has a mass comm component, has a theater component. So if you think of those all separately, we're probably close to 15. But I'll tell you some interesting things that are happening.
Yeah.
Okay. So one interesting thing that is happening is that we are hiring a couple new faculty, and no matter what department new faculty are in, they always bring new energy.
Right.
And so it's very exciting. And I can't say much more about that because it's in process. Right. But that's a very exciting thing. Another exciting thing we're doing is that we are looking to do a collaboration with DePaul, and we're going to have DePaul courses taught at Harper College. And we're going to specialize in courses in a couple disciplines, but one most interesting maybe to your listeners is mass communications. So we're going to have what they call, when they're being fancy, a 2+2, which is 2 years at Harper, 2 years at DePaul, and the student doesn't have to go downtown if they don't want to.
Right.
So that's very interesting and exciting.
Well, that's really exciting. I mean, because while Chicago is not that far away from here, if you have a family and job and responsibilities and all that fun stuff here, getting there can be a real pain.
It is. And I live only 1 mile from Chicago. I live in Evanston, so I know it's not it's not the ends of the earth, but for some people it's much more convenient to be here. Right. And it's also will be a comfortable environment for them. I think that's really exciting. They're also looking at some 2+2s, or the similar program in some other disciplines that I'm not quite as familiar with. So we're doing that.
That's cool.
We're also pursuing the expansion of our mass communications program. We are hopeful that we will get a new lab sometime in the next few years, and some new curriculum and perhaps new faculty. So that would be great.
6 months, a year, a decade, it doesn't matter. Whatever. Yeah.
You know what's also very exciting in liberal arts, which people will notice aesthetically, is we have been trying since I've been here, and I think actually 2 years before, to get new lockers for the art and music students.
You going to replace the dog cages?
We are going to replace the dog cages because maybe 5 years ago, the president walked by and said, "Those are horrible." And so people said, "Okay, well, let's get new ones." And the wheels of change turn slowly. And by gosh, in July, we're putting them in. Yeah. So that's very, very exciting.
I can't remember who it was, but I was walking through. I walk through that hallway probably 15 times a day, and I heard a child say to their parent, "Is that where they keep the doggies, Mommy?"
It's not so pretty, really.
No, it's not. Yeah, that is exciting.
It is very exciting. And people probably knew, but I'll remind them that we opened liberal arts North, which is in D building, and we opened it a year ago, and that is the office that serves our liberal arts faculty who have their offices in the new beautiful D building.
Yeah, can I get one of those? Can I? Yeah.
You could get in line. Okay. I don't know how your seniority is, but
I could use a window.
Yeah, they have lovely windows, and they have a view of the. Is it a lake? A pond? They have a view of the ponds.
They have a view of water.
They have a view of water and of traffic, and it's just sort of life going on. So that's a nice thing. And they have great natural light. They did this big study when they were doing it that students learn better with natural light. So every room in that building has natural light.
Yeah.
So that's very good.
It's really nice over there.
It is very nice. It is very nice that people should go and sit in the atrium, and they have these really weird new chairs where you can put your head in, and it's almost like you're by yourself.
Right.
Yeah, and I think you can write in it, like if you're doing math problems, and you can write in it and then erase it.
One of the interesting things about D building is that, so we're an A building, which is the student center. But the problem with this building is we should be in it right now as a completely remodeled building A. That was supposed to have happened over 3 years ago. Because we have created all of these spaces in other buildings on campus and modernized those buildings, the students are not in the student center. They're in D and then other buildings across campus.
Yes.
Because, quite frankly, A is
not as lovely.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. Yeah. Yeah.
So. Though the lovely people remain in A.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think as part of the great master plan, all the spaces are getting refreshed.
Right.
Most of the spaces are getting refreshed, and as years go on, we'll have more spaces. But that is interesting, and I don't know if student activities has any room in the new. Wherever they're putting the library, is that F? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know what they're doing with student spaces, but it's all for the students.
Right.
Yes.
So what else are you excited about?
Yeah, so I'll say this isn't so exciting for anybody else, but it's very exciting for us that in English we have completely redesigned the sequence of courses that lead up to English 101. And everybody will be familiar with English 101 as the college level English class that everybody in the world takes, at least in the country. Students who are not ready for that class quite yet, for whatever reason, were put through a whole lot of credits. And now we've really streamlined that, and they can get there as efficiently and educationally soundly and effectively as they ever could. So we're very happy about that. We're also happy that students now are placed in writing courses by writing. And that doesn't seem like it would be so surprising, but that's not been done at Harper. It's been done they've been placed by standardized tests. So we now have a Harper homegrown test that's we've tested extremely rigorously, and students write and faculty look at their writing, and that's how they determine what class to go in. So I think from where I sit, that's not as, sexy as some of the other initiatives, but it's very important and very helpful to students.
Well, it's very important. It saves time, it saves money, it leads to faster completion for the student once they get through that streamlined process.
Right, it does nobody any good for a student to be placed too low or too high.
Right.
Absolutely nobody. So we want to place them in as high a level as we believe they can be successful, and even if it's a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I find the students here at Harper, generally speaking, in my classes, have pretty good command. Their reading and writing skills are pretty good. But I know that wasn't the case for me when I went to college. I grew up in Kentucky, and nothing against the fine folk of Kentucky. I love my home state. But we write like we talk down there, if you know what I'm saying.
So, sure.
And so when I got to Ohio to go to school and started writing like I talk, that was a real problem.
Yeah.
And got booted out of my English 101 and into a remedial course, and that was a real struggle for me. And as being a person who graduated from high school with a 4.0, right, and you get to college and they're like, well, you're totally not prepared for college.
Yeah.
That was a real shocker, and that's one of the reasons why I love being at community college. I love teaching at a community college because I think our job is so important in helping students get on the right foot when they start college. I mean, students generally in this area are very well prepared, but everyone struggles. So, or not everyone, but some people do struggle. And I think that having the opportunity to come to a college like Harper, where you get personal attention from faculty, you have small enough classes where the faculty can actually know your name and you can interact with these people and go to office hours with them and talk to them outside of class. It makes a significant difference for a student coming here as opposed to starting off at a four-year university.
Absolutely. So. I also was a developmental English student. I was placed in developmental English at the four-year school that I went to, and I had taken AP English and wanted to be a writer or a writing teacher, and I since majored in English, got a master's in English, but I needed it because I think what happened in high school, which may be similar to you, is that I was good enough.
Right.
So my teachers never really bothered with me. So I never actually got any better. I was just like, I could put a sentence together. I'd love to read. So I had that kind of natural whatever. But when I got to college and I had to do more analytic writing, I did not have the skills.
Yeah. So. They get Jennifer's work and they're like, oh, Jennifer's fine. Yeah, just paying. Yeah.
And I remember sitting in the taking the exam, and in those days, when you went to orientation, you walked into a room and they gave you a piece of paper and said, write this, and the question was, talk about your perspective on nuclear disarmament, which was a phrase that was much more common back then, but it wasn't so common to my 18-year-old self.
Right.
So I think one of the reasons I got placed there was because I really couldn't handle the topic.
Yeah.
And so that also, I've always kept those lessons in my mind.
I felt that way when I sat down to take the GRE. After 4 years of college, you sit down and you take the GRE and you're like, wow, I'm dumb.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. The GRE says things like, is this Robert Frost imitating Ezra Pound? Or is this, Jane Austen imitating George Eliot? It's like really super hard.
Yeah. And why? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, so. I'm not sure if knowing that is such a an important skill or not.
It's important to someone, apparently.
I guess so.
Well, we have been talking to Dr. Jennifer Berne, who is the Dean of Liberal Arts here at Harper College, and my boss. And so I'm Brian
not
Shelton.
today.
Not today. I'm Brian Shelton. You're listening to Harper Talks, and we hope to be back next week with one final show for the semester. I don't know who the guest is, and if our producer, Casey, is listening, Casey, we need a guest for next week. So, yeah. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Have a great day.
Take care.
You've been listening to Harper Talks on FM 88.3 WHCM.